Welcome to another Ideas Spotlight episode here on Beyond the Brick. I'm Joshua Hanlon, and today I am joined by Truman to talk about his beautiful Lego Starry Night project. And before we dive on into Starry Night, I do want to thank Clone Army Customs for helping make this live stream possible. If you're looking for Lego Star Wars minifigures or accessories to help improve your Lego Star Wars builds, go over to clonearmycustoms.com and check them out today. And you can find a link to their website in the description of this video. And I do really appreciate you joining me today, Truman, to talk about this project. This project, definitely, when I first saw it, drew me in immediately. It's such a beautiful painting in real life, and your Lego build captures so much of the beauty of that painting. So start off by telling us about the inspiration for this build and why you decided to depict Van Gogh here with Lego.
Yeah, sure. So actually, like a lot of people, I actually saw this painting very young when I was a kid, and it just stayed with me because I think it has something very unique about the style. It just stays with you when you have first saw it, and I think the coloration and the brushstroke of the Van Gogh is just absolutely fantastic. And I always wanted to use Lego to recreate this painting, but never thought of a good technique to do it before. And I saw some mosaic builds that use one by one paste like pixel to recreate the whole painting, and those look kind of all right, but I think it would be much better to try to capture actually the flow of the brushstrokes that Van Gogh used in the painting. So one day I was just playing around with the Lego plates and bricks, and I realized that when I try to stack this plates in different intervals and stack different lengths of different colorations, then it kind of looks like the brushstroke that Van Gogh used in his original paintings. And once that idea snapped, then I just can't help but wonder how the whole painting would look like if we use this kind of technique of stacking plates to build this work. Of course, I can't just use horizontal stacking. So some of the brushstroke are in different direction. You can see in the cloud, for example, is style like a sparrow there. So when I try to recreate this flowing brushstroke, I will use some clips to change the directions of this plate stacks. But the clips itself would create some breaks in the flow. So to avoid collision, sometimes when I stack different plates in different directions, there's some triangular voids that would be created between these clipped parts, and it doesn't look good. So what I do is that I would try to push it one layer towards the camera. So there's a 2x3 place there. So then I would try to use the front layer to build a wider section to try to cover up the voids that you can see in the flowing cloud. And actually, I started with the cloud, and then I moved on to the landscape before building the sky. So it looks like the sky is the main background there, and the stars are really easy to add. But actually, I did those last. What I did is that I would build the cloud, and then I would build the moon. And after that, I just move on to the landscape because I know that I cannot use the sky as the reference to place the stars, because the stars are looking very random if you just look at the sky without any reference from the tree or the small village there. But if I can get the landscape of the village done first, then I can use those as the reference. And then I can place the star very accurately to the original painting. And so you can see in the background near the sky, there are some blue hues there. And in the original painting, you can see that Van Gogh used some curved stroke there to emphasize the contour of the hues. So if I just use some stacking plates to try to recreate that contour, is not looking very good. It looks kind of like a jittering, pixelated hue you can see in some 8-bit games. So what I did is that I used some quarter circular plates, and I have one step offset in between this place, and I stack it towards the front instead of up. And this way I can create the curved brushstroke you can see in the original painting. And also it can push the whole thing forward, so I can create this 3D effect in the whole set. So I think one of the special thing about this project is that I'm not just creating the whole painting in a 2D style. I'm trying to recreate the painting accurately from the front view, but also I would try to move the foreground a little bit further closer to the camera with this stacking plate method, and some more divided villages with some micro build techniques there. And this way I can try to get the foreground to become the 3D scene in the front, and then the background, the sky, would be a flat drop. And there's some cloud that's also 3D flowing. I think that's the unique thing about this build, that some people would find more beautiful than just doing a pixelated mosaic style there. And actually, after building the hill, I just move on to the small village. Like I said, the village itself in the original painting is the least abstract part of the painting, I think. So there are some very well-defined features there for the architecture. So I try to reference some micro city builds I see online in Flickr or Instagram. I use some of those techniques to build the small houses and the tower, the spire in the central architecture. And then for the small houses, I originally used some slopes to build the rooftops. But then I realized that if I use just slope part, it would be very easy, but I will lose the beautiful color patterns that you can see in the original painting. So in the painting, the rooftop, there's some color patterns going on. And I don't want to use loop or print parts for those, because I try to make the whole painting without using print parts, except on the minifigure and the mini painting that you can see there. So I try to use another method to recreate the color pattern. And what I came up with is that I will use this 3-stud L plates that you can see very commonly. And I will stack those, and in some of the sections that I would add a clipped plate and connect it to the bar. The bar is the Harry Potter wand that you can see very commonly in those sets. And then this bar will connect to the base plane, and this way I can adjust the angle and get the rooftop shape that you can see in the final view. So the two houses in the front, those are built with the same techniques there. Yeah. And then for the village there is using the methods that I've learned from some online micro city builds. And moving on to the tree itself is actually one of the most challenging things I've built in this project. It looks very random, but what I try to do is I try to recreate the exact silhouette of the tree that you can see in the painting. And for the lower part, I can go more random to capture the spontaneous energy. So you can see in the bottom part, I'm using a lot of different curved parts and some plates in different colors, in green, brown, and black there. And it looks random, but I'm trying to recreate actually the brushstroke that you can see in the original painting. But moving on to the upper part of the tree, I go much more carefully to use these curves to create the exact silhouette that you can see in the original painting. So one interesting thing I realized when building this is that the tree is not just going like a straight taper there. Near the top of the tree, there's actually a slight S shape going on. So on the very top of the tree is a slight curved shape there that goes a little bit thicker. So you can see in the painting that the top of the tree is not actually just a pointed bit there. It's a little bit thicker there, and that it would hug itself around another star and then go into the taper near the top. So to create this, I just use the plates, and then I use the curved parts here to get this slightly thicker part of the top of the tree. And then I place the stars very carefully in the final part of this build to capture the exact position of the stars. So you can see in my build, the stars actually corresponds to the painting's positions. And the size of the stars actually changes a lot across the original painting as well. So for this, I try to use different sizes of the circular plates. So some of these stars are built with a diameter of 4 stud circular plates there, and then I would go 2 by 2, and then a single stud round plate in the center. Usually in yellow or orange, the center point is, and then around the center point, I will try to have this grilled place there to capture the slight brushstroke you can see in the original painting around the star. And for the moon on the upper right corner, the shape of the moon is very easy. I'm just using some circular plates and then have some offset between the plates to create this crescent shape there. But around the moon, there's many brushstrokes creating the halo in the original painting. So there's a lot of yellow and blue going on around this halo of the moon. And if I just try to stack plates to create this halo, then it would look very weird. It would look like someone just drawing with a horizontal stroke again and again around the moon. So what I did is that I try to build this plane in different directions. So on the top is going upwards, of course. And then I use some brackets and modify the bricks there to build it both in the left and right direction. And then I cap it off with the circular parts there, the curved parts there. So you can have this impression of a circular halo around the moon. Yeah. Yeah, so the final step I did is to add the stars in this background, the backdrop of this painting. And I would use, maybe here you can see in the tree that just above the tree, there are 2 stars there. And then just above the central tower there, the tip of the tower, there's actually a bigger star there. So I use this kind of references from the foreground to help me determine where to put the stars in the background. So that's why I put the stars at the end of this project. So yeah, that's about the flow that I used to create the whole thing. And do you have anything you want to ask about the set?
Well, that was amazing. Thank you for giving such a detailed run through of the whole project, because yeah, the level of detail you achieved, I think, is what really sets this apart. When you look at that shot, comparing your build to the real painting, just how you placed all the stars perfectly there, the tree, all the curves of everything. So that's what really sets it apart. So fantastic work there. Now, one thing you notice with paintings is, due to the way that paint colors can combine, you can get a lot of very different, unique colors. So was it difficult at all using the colors that are available in Lego bricks to translate some of the different shades of any of those colors into the Lego build? Were you able to find pieces that you felt kind of matched all the different colors that Van Gogh was able to use?
So the coloration is a lot of trial and error, actually. I couldn't get it right the first time around, and it's a lot of trying different shades of blue and shades of yellow, and to get the thing looking close to the original painting. I can never get the exact color, of course, but if we use the combination and the contrast between these colors carefully, then we can get the impression that we can get from the original painting. So for example, you can see just beneath the moon, there's a wave of cloud flowing down the hill there, following the contour of the hill. Yeah, so for that part, actually, it's one of my favorite part of this project. So what I did is I tried to use some light yellow plates near the top of this cloud to capture the original painting's impression of this light of the moon just shining at the edge of the cloud. And then more near the lower part of the cloud, then I'll use some different shades of blue, but not going too dark, to get this slightly varying shades that you can see in the painting. So this will look like the brushstroke going across the cloud there. And for the hues, I will use some blue and some blue violet shapes. I'm not sure if the right name is the name that I can see on Franklin. So some blue plates and some blue violet plates, and I will try to stack them alternatively. So one blue plate following one blue violet plate, and then just going on like this, then you can get this varying brushstroke that you can see in this painting's hue. Yeah.
Right. And again, you captured that really wonderfully. Like you said, the brighter moon glowing on top of that cloud as it comes down. Just fantastic work there. So you did a
Thank
really
you.
good job taking us through the main build, but I also want to point out a small little detail that's easy to overlook, and that's the Van Gogh minifig and the little painting there
Yeah.
you included, which I think is just, the cherry on top of an already amazing build. So talk about that, the minifigure and the little painting you made there.
Yeah. So the minifigure and the little painting is the last idea in this ideas project. So what happened is that I built the whole 3D scene, right? So I was looking at this 3D scene. I was imagining, what if I have another smaller painting that Van Gogh himself is working on while looking at this set here. So I tried to make a minifigure of Van Gogh and then make this smaller painting. And for this smaller painting, I had to use the print plane because otherwise I wouldn't get the details right. So I have this small painting and the minifigure. And what I did is that I just, for the final images you see in the project, I try to put the minifigure and the painting just in front of this whole 3D scene, and it will look like Van Gogh is working on his painting while looking at this scenery. Yeah. So it's kind of a Lego Inception thing going on.
And I loved it. It's just a few pieces there to create the kind of easel and then
Yeah.
the painting piece. So you didn't need to include a lot of pieces, but it captures it very nicely.
Yeah. So for this, I don't want to increase the part count too much because for the base build, like the whole 3D scene, I already used I think 1,000 and something parts for the basic 3D scene because I had to use a lot of plates to create the brush strokes. So I think it's around, if I'm talking about part count, I think it's somewhere between the ship in the bottle ideas set and the treehouse set. So it would be something between the two. Yeah. And maybe if I get lucky and this gets to make into a product, then maybe Lego can price it somewhere between these two sets. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to keep in mind. I think it's always, when you're submitting a project like this, it's good to have kind of piece count, price point, all those things. I've talked about this with past guests on the Idea Spotlight. It's always good to have those things in mind and know, okay, if this was turned into a real set, what would this actually look like sitting on the shelves in a Lego store?
Hopefully.
You've done a fantastic job with the build itself, as well as considering all those different elements. So we'll definitely have a link to the Van Gogh project in the description of this video. Everyone can go over there and lend their support to it. You're just shy of 5,000 supporters right now, so another big milestone coming up here. So do our best to push you to over the 5,000 point and get you to 10,000 as quickly as possible. But you do have a couple of other really great projects as well. So I wanted to give you a chance to talk about your Lego dogs project that you made. And I know this is something that you really enjoyed doing. So talk about this project.
Yeah, so this is actually the first, I think it's the first ideas project that I submitted to the platform. I think it was September or October last year. So this project is what I built first and what got me into Lego ideas. So I've always loved dogs, and I think a lot of people also love dogs. So it's a little bit surprising that there isn't a Lego set that celebrates, the bond between humans and our favorite animal, basically. And yeah. So yeah, it's a little bit surprising there isn't a dog Lego set already. So I think that's what Ideas platform is for. So for this kind of Lego set that you think should exist but don't exist yet, you try to build it and try to put it on the platform. And other people love it, then awesome, it may have a chance to become a real thing. And originally I wanted to create a lot of different breeds for this set, but I'm afraid it would, lose focus and it would be just too messy. So in the end, I just chose a few of my favorite breeds. So here you can see there's a Beagle, there's a Red Husky, there's a Shiba Inu, and there's a German Shepherd. The German Shepherd is actually the biggest dog among these more puppy-like builds. And I also have a Gogh and a Yorkshire Terrier. And in the actual project, you can also see there's a pug that I included as a surprise when people try to scroll through the images. So near the end, there's also a pug there. And I think my favorite thing about this whole project is the technique I used to build the mouths for this dog. So what I did is I have this 2x2 circular plates or brick there, and then on top of this, I will try to use this quarter plates and this special kind of plates that Lego produced recently, and somehow it just looked exactly like the dog's snout if I put these elements together. And if I get lucky and this set actually becomes a product, I know Lego usually do some major editing to the whole design, but I hope they will keep the mouth design at least. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you just kind of hit on a combination of a few different pieces like that, and it just captures something perfectly. And I think you're right there. You know, you're able to use that for all the different dog designs, and it works really well.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, another fantastic project. This one actually isn't far from 10,000 supporters. So again, if you're a fan of these Lego dogs, as many people are, then definitely go over and support this project as well. And then before we end our time together, I wanted to mention a third really neat project you have going on, and that's your Animal Crossing Lego Horizon project. And what I love about this is you didn't just do the island, but you also have the characters in like a brickhead style here. So I think that's really unique. So to talk about those characters and how you were able to accomplish that.
Yeah, so actually I saw some projects with the same theme, like Animal Crossing was very popular in many platforms, including Lego Ideas for a while. But for all this set, I see that they are only building it with the villages or the islands. So what I try to do is that I try to include also the characters inside this build. So I'm actually very interested in brickheads. I collect some of the brickheads, and I try to use a similar style to build the characters. I think it's very suitable for the kind of kawaii style that they would use for this game design. And so you can see the island itself is built after I've built the character. So the scaling is made to fit the character. So the focus for the whole project actually is not the island or the desk or the house. Is actually the characters. I think that's what makes it stand out among different ideas project that also share the same theme of Animal Crossing. And I really enjoy building this KK slider actually because it's in a very special pose, unlike other villages. It's playing the guitar and is sitting on this like a tree stump, and it's very tricky to get it right. But in the end, I just use some special brick parts and use some modified brick with some side connections and try to get the whole shape to look like he's sitting there and actually carrying the guitar and playing with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's not easy to capture characters in this brickhead style. You know, you've got a limited amount of space, and you've got to give all the kind of iconic details that people expect with each of these characters, and then to give kind of a sense of movement or holding things. All of that is a challenge.
Yeah, and I think the most fun part is that, like you mentioned, there's a limited dimension that you can use for the face or for the head. So it's kind of like solving a puzzle. So you look at the original character designs, and then you try to recreate all the main features that you see in a limited canvas, basically a 3D canvas. That's the way I think of it. And try to get the silhouette right, and then the facial features and the colors right. And I think because the original style is already very cartoonish, it's easier for me to translate into a brickhead style. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic work. And like you mentioned earlier, the characters are definitely what set this apart from some of the other Animal Crossing projects, that we've featured on the show in the past, or some of the others that are out there on ideas. So again, if people are a fan of the Animal Crossing game, as many people are, then definitely go check this project out and you can support it. So Truman has just been really knocking it out of the park on Lego Ideas with so many fantastic projects over there for you to check out and support. So I appreciate you taking the time to give us all this behind the scenes info today and all the detail into how these builds come together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
For sure. Best of luck with all of the projects, and we'll make sure to put links to these projects in the description of this video so everyone watching can check all of those out and lend your support over there on Lego Ideas. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. We'll see you soon.